31 days. That is the number I want you to hold in your head while you listen to this story. 31 days. That is how long I spent fighting for my life in a hospital bed. That is how long I stared at a ceiling tile with a water stain that looked vaguely like the state of Texas. That is how long I listened to the rhythmic, mechanical beeping of a monitor that was keeping track of a heart that kept trying to stop. In those 31 days, I had exactly 0 visitors from my family, not one phone call asking how I was feeling, not one text message checking if I was alive, not one person who shared my blood walked through those automatic sliding doors to sit in that chair next to me. Not my mother, not my father, not my sister. But on day 32, the day I was finally back in my own apartment, still weak, still recovering, still trying to remember how to breathe without pain, my phone rang. I saw my mother's name on the screen, and for a split second, just a fraction of a second, my heart jumped. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the apology. Maybe this is the moment they admit they were wrong. Maybe they're calling to ask how my recovery is going, I answered, and her voice was cheerful, excited even. She didn't ask about my surgery. She didn't ask about the complications. She didn't ask if I was still in pain. She said, "We need $12,000 for your sister's wedding dress." I actually laughed out loud. Then I opened my banking app and sent them exactly $1. And if you stick around until the end of this video, you'll see why that single dollar destroyed everything they'd built. Comment below right now. Do you think I went too far? Or was it exactly what they deserved? Let me know, because this story is about to get wild. My name is Carla. This is Korean Nightmare Stories. And this is how I learned that blood means nothing when the people who share it treat you like an ATM. Before we dive into this absolute nightmare of a story, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell for Korean Nightmare Stories, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you think you know about family. Trust me, you don't want to miss the ending. It's the most satisfying revenge I've ever covered on this channel. It started on a Wednesday. Wednesdays were my sacred days. I had this yoga class at 7:30 a.m. that grounded me. I never made it to yoga that day. I collapsed in my kitchen making coffee. The next clear memory I have is fluorescent lights and a stranger in scrubs asking my name like it was a test I might fail. Severe internal complications, they told me later. The kind that don't wait for you to get your affairs in order. The kind that need surgery within hours, not days. I called my mother from the ambulance. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I remember my voice cracking as I said, "Mom, I'm scared. They're taking me into surgery." I lay in that bed and watched other patients have visitors. An elderly man 2 doors down had his grandchildren bring him drawings every single day. The woman across the hall had a revolving door of friends bringing soup. I had a nurse named Priya who started sneaking in extra pudding cups because she said, "Honey, somebody's got to spoil you a little." A nurse. A stranger who'd known me for 4 days was more invested in my survival than the 3 people who'd known me my whole life. I cried more in that hospital from loneliness than from the actual pain. And here's the thing about pain like that, it rewires something in you. It teaches you cell by cell exactly where you rank in a family's priorities. I was discharged on a Thursday. No one picked me up. I called a rideshare with shaking hands and went home to an apartment that hadn't been checked on in over a month. The plants were dead. The mail was piled up like a paper monument to how invisible I'd become. I sat on my living room floor that first night, too exhausted to make it to the bedroom, and I made myself 3 promises. I would never mistake obligation for love. I would never confuse "we're family" with "we care." And I promised that the next time my family needed something from me, I would finally say, "No. Don't go anywhere. The part where I get my revenge is coming up, and it's going to blow your mind. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss when I reveal the family secret that changed everything. I didn't have to wait long to test that promise. Exactly 31 days after I came home, yes, I counted, my phone buzzed. No, how are you feeling? No, I'm sorry we weren't there. Just this. Hi, sweetie. Exciting news. Tansy and Vance are getting married in October. We found the most gorgeous dress for her, but it's $12,000 and we're a little short. Could you help out? Family helps family. I read it 3 times. I laughed out loud, that hollow, humorless laugh of disbelief. $12,000. For my sister, who hadn't said one word to me while I was fighting for my life, but had plenty of words for missing AirPods. Let me tell you about Tansy. She's 2 years younger and has been the obvious favorite forever. When we were kids, Tansy got new clothes every season. I got her hand-me-downs even though we weren't close in size. When Tansy struggled in school, my parents hired tutors. When I struggled, I was told to try harder. When Tansy got her first car at 17, it was new. When I got mine at 19, it was a rusted hand-me-down I had to fix myself. I used to think it was my imagination. But 31 days in a hospital bed removes every last bit of doubt. This text was a perfect artifact of everything wrong with my family. They hadn't called to check my recovery. They called because they needed something. Because that's what I'd always been to them. Not a daughter, but a resource. I thought about sending a long, angry message detailing every day I spent alone. I drafted it 3 times. But then I realized they didn't deserve my explanation. They deserved exactly the level of effort they'd given me. So I opened my banking app. I sent $1 single dollar to my mother's account, and in the memo line, I wrote 2 words: good luck. Then I put my phone on silent and went to bed for the first peaceful night's sleep I'd had in months. If you think that was savage, wait until you see what happened next. Subscribe to Korean Nightmare Stories right now, because the fallout from that dollar is about to get nuclear. The next morning, my phone had exploded. 11 missed calls from my mother, 6 texts from my father, a man who texted me exactly twice during my entire hospitalization, suddenly finding the motivation to type in full paragraphs. Then a message from Tansy. Are you serious right now? $1? Do you know how humiliating this is? Mom showed everyone at brunch, and now Aunt Raina thinks you hate me. This is supposed to be the happiest time of my life, and you're making it about you. Making it about me. As if surviving major surgery alone. As if all 31 days of silence. As if all of that was somehow a performance to ruin her dress shopping. I didn't respond. I let the messages pile up the way my mail had piled up while I was in the hospital, untouched, accumulating, becoming its own kind of evidence. It was my father who called 2 days later. I almost didn't answer, but some small, foolish part of me still hoped. Kayla, he said, his voice tight with annoyance. What was that about? Your mother is devastated. Devastated? I repeated. That's an interesting word choice. She just wants to help your sister have a beautiful wedding. Is that so terrible? Something cracked open in me. Dad, I had surgery a little over a month ago. Did you know I almost didn't make it through the second procedure? Silence. No, he admitted. I didn't realize it was that serious. You didn't realize because you never asked. None of you did. I was alone in that hospital for 31 days. I had a nurse bring me pudding because she felt bad that nobody else came. And now, a month after I came home to dead plants and a recovery I had to manage alone, the first thing you reach out about is money. That dollar was me telling you exactly how much effort I have left for people who showed me how much effort they have for me. You didn't realize because you never asked. None of you did. I was alone in that hospital for 31 days. I had a nurse bring me pudding because she felt bad that nobody else came. And now, a month after I came home to dead plants and a recovery I had to manage alone. The first thing you reach out about is money. That dollar was me telling you exactly how much effort I have left for people who showed me how much effort they have for me. He tried the excuse. We were busy. Busy, I said, for 31 days, all three of you. Busy. There's no version of busy that explains failing to show up for someone fighting for their life, not when they found time for brunches and dress shopping. I hung up. It felt like setting down something I'd been carrying too long. But 2 weeks later, I learned the truth that changed everything. I was at my cousin Della's house. Della was one of the only family members who'd actually visited me in the hospital. She mentioned something in passing. "I'm so glad you're okay. We were all so worried when your mom told everyone you didn't want visitors." I froze. What? Della realized I didn't know. "Your mom told the whole family you specifically asked for privacy, that you didn't want anyone seeing you while you were recovering. She made it sound like you'd banned everyone." I had never said that. I remembered specifically telling my mother how badly I wanted someone there. My mother hadn't just failed to show up, she'd constructed an entire narrative to excuse her absence. She'd taken my pain and repackaged it as my preference, so nobody would ask uncomfortable questions about where she'd been. I asked Della to show me the family group chat. What I read explained everything. Messages from my mother throughout my hospitalization. "She's doing fine, resting up, said she wants space." An exchange about Tansy's wedding planning dated during my second week, the week I'd had complications and a fever, where my mother wrote she was swamped with wedding stuff, while I lay alone with a fever. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, recalibrating everything. This wasn't negligence, this was engineered, specifically designed so I'd carry the abandonment alone and silently. That's when I decided the dollar wasn't enough. I refused to be the only person who knew the truth. If your blood is boiling right now, comment karma below and share this video with someone who needs to see it. We're approaching the final act, and it's going to get intense. I didn't scream. I didn't post a dramatic statement online. I did something quieter and far more effective. I asked Della to add me back to the family group chat temporarily. When she did, I posted a single message, a screenshot of my hospital discharge paperwork showing my admission and surgery dates, alongside the text. For anyone who was told I didn't want visitors, that wasn't true. I asked for help every single day. I just didn't get it. Everyone deserves to know that before the wedding planning continues. I left the group chat immediately. I didn't need their reaction. I just needed the truth to exist outside my own head. The fallout was significant. Aunt Raina called my mother directly. Other relatives who'd quietly wondered why no one visited suddenly had their answer. My mother tried to spin it, claiming I was misremembering, that I was confused on medication. But paperwork doesn't misremember. As for the wedding, I heard through Della that they scaled back significantly. No $12,000 dress, much smaller budget, much smaller guest list, because several relatives suddenly developed newfound reluctance once they understood what had actually happened. I didn't do this to sabotage Tansy's wedding. I did it because I refused to absorb cruelty quietly to maintain someone else's comfortable narrative. If the truth made things harder, that was the natural cost of the lie meeting daylight. It's been several months. I haven't spoken to my mother, father, or Tansy since that message. No grand reconciliation, no tearful apology, just silence. The same silence they gave me for 31 days. Except now, it's silence I chose. What I have instead is Della, who shows up. I have Hall, who once drove 40 minutes in the rain to bring me soup when I had a cold, because he said, "That's just what you do for someone you care about." I have a small circle who understands showing up isn't optional. I think about that empty chair sometimes, 31 days of it sitting untouched, but I don't think about it with grief anymore. I think about it as the moment I finally understood the difference between family by blood and family by action. So here's my question to you, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments below. If the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally only show up when they need something from you, do you think that $1 and 2 words was too harsh? Or was it exactly the answer they deserved? If you've ever had to learn the hard way who actually shows up for you, hit that subscribe button and join the Korean Nightmare Stories family. We talk about these hard truths every single week. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss when I expose another family secret or share another story of surviving the people who should have protected us. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're not crazy for expecting better from the people who claim to love them. And remember, being alone is not the same as being abandoned. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stop reaching for people who keep letting go. This has been Korean Nightmare Stories. New nightmares and new triumphs every single week. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.